Hey guys, it's Kathleen, and today I'm going to be talking about books I DNF'd. If you are not familiar with the phrase, DNF stands for did not finish. It's basically just a book that I started and I just didn't finish it for whatever reason. I'm actually not a huge DNF'er of books. It's something I really wouldn't do for a long time, and I always started doing it more recently. But honestly, there are just some books that you just cannot get through because they're either terrible or you're just not interested in them at the time. So here's a not super long list of books that I just could not finish. So the first book I want to talk about is It Looks Like This by Raffi Middlefelt. Book, honestly, I don't even remember the main character's name, but it's about this boy who moves to, I think, this conservative town, and he's gay, but his family doesn't know he's gay, and he meets this boy in his class who he starts to develop a romantic interest in, but then the boy's parents are like evangelical Christians, and I think his dad is a pastor, and they don't accept this, obviously, and I don't want to spoil what happens, but kind of knowing what happens is the reason I didn't finish this book. So I'm gonna hold up my hand and I'm gonna say what happens, and you can just like ignore it if you don't want to hear it and just skip to the point when my hand's not held up. But basically, the boy that the main character is interested in, both whose names I forget honestly, he eventually kills himself at the end of this book because the parents don't accept him or whatever. So it's another tragic, oh, gay kid dies because their parents don't accept them and love them, and oh, we should have treated them better kind of story. Honestly, the reason I didn't finish this book is because I'm so over these kinds of narratives. Maybe these were somewhat useful in 2003 when there were still people who didn't know any gay people, and this was something they were being introduced to, and so they need to sympathize with them. But these books are written for straight people exclusively, and that's not a good thing anymore. These narratives ultimately should be written with LGBT kids in mind, and I don't think this book was. On top of that, it's also just not that great a book. Like, I remember the writing is very, very simple, and it's supposed to be very pretty in that sense, but it's really not. It's actually just really boring. You get no sense. Oh, the main character's name is Mikey. Mikey. You get no sense of Mikey's character whatsoever because his narration is just so dull. I actually DNF'd this book, and then I started the Lunar Chronicles, which turned out to be one of my favorite series of all time. So honestly, I can't say I regret it, and I'm really glad I DNF'd this. The second book I'd like to talk about is Wink Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve Tuchok. This is the weirdest book of all time. It's about these three characters named Wink, Poppy, Midnight. I only remember their names because their names are in the title. And I think Wink is this like mysterious, charming girl, and then Poppy is like this cruel, like mean girl, and Midnight is like this sweet boy who kind of dates both of them at different times. And it's supposed to be a sort of magical realism story, I think, but it honestly just makes no sense. It's weird, it's confusing, the descriptions are so strange. I don't like this book at all. I didn't know what was happening. I literally didn't understand it. There was nothing magical or beautiful about it. To me, it was just plain weird. So it was another one where I kind of skipped to the end to find out what the twist was, and honestly, the twist is like not even worth it. It's just silly and super obvious. So yeah, I have really no thoughts on this book other than that. I just think it's like a freaking weird book, and I never recommend it to people. It's not good, and I'm really glad I DNF'd it. The next book I DNF'd quite a while ago is one I do own a copy of somewhere, but I've no clue where it is, and that's Paper Towns by John Green. It's strange that I DNF'd this one, honestly, because I own all of John Green's other books, and I've read all of them, and I've liked them all to some varying degree, and it's not that the writing is bad in this book, I just could never get through it for some reason. I don't think it's an inherently bad book, but I just think there's nothing about it that kept me invested. And it's not a character I really cared about that much. Ultimately, I wasn't really that interested in Margot either. Something about the story just drops off for me. I think it has a good point. Again, I've read the ending of this book, but I just feel like the middle part isn't very exciting. I've never been able to make it through it. I've tried it multiple times, and I've tried to love it. I even asked for it for Christmas one year because I wanted to give it another shot, and I got it, and I gave it another shot, and I just, again, couldn't get past like the first maybe 100 pages. It's one of those books that I've kind of just accepted it's probably not for me because I just don't like it that much, and I don't see myself ever getting back to it, to be honest. Another book I wanted to quickly mention is The Rosie Effect by Graham Simpson. This is the sequel to The Rosie Project, which is a book I really liked. It's a super, super cute little romantic love story. It's nothing special exactly, but it's a sweet book. I really enjoyed it a lot. And this book basically follows the couple after they've gotten together. I believe it's Rosie, and I don't remember the main guy's name. Whatever, Rosie and the main guy, they get together, and it's basically, I believe Rosie gets pregnant, and it's about that journey for them. But I remember I read the first 30 pages of this, and I just thought, oh, okay, like this is boring, so I put it down, and I've never gotten back to it. I don't know if I should get back to it. Let me know if it gets spectacular at any point. I don't even know where I put it, to be honest. It's somewhere. I have the Rosie Project somewhere up on my shelf, but I don't even know where the sequel went. I'm sure it's an okay book, like it's gotten okay reviews, but it's also gotten some reviews that said, it's not that great. So I honestly don't know if I'm ever gonna get back to that one. So this next one, I feel like everybody's going to hate me, but this is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. I have tried to read this book like 5 times, and each time I've said to myself, oh my gosh, like I'm not interested. I read the first chapter or something, it's really intriguing, like it's narrated by death. I don't think that's a spoiler, I'm pretty sure it's obvious in the first chapter, but if it's not, sorry if I spoiled you. And basically then after that, I get really bored, and I can't even explain it. I don't know why I get so bored, but I just cannot continue with this book for some inexplicable reason. I would love to read it. I think it's a classic of the modern day, and I feel like I should read it, but for some reason I just can't make myself do it. So I have a couple middle grade Rick Riordan books that I've DNF'd for now. One of them is the Demigod Files and Demigod Diaries. Demigod Diaries. I think Demigod Files is a different book, but this one is basically just a collection of short stories about different demigods in the series. And I remember I bought this, and I remember I really only wanted to read the Percy and Annabeth story, so that's what I did. I read maybe half of another one, and then I just stopped caring. So I don't know. If the other stories are good, let me know, and I may get back to this someday, but it just probably won't happen for a long time. The other one, which as you can see has conveniently disappeared from the shelf behind me, that is the first in the Magnus Chase series, obviously again by Rick Riordan. This is one of those series that, again, I bought this when it first came out, like 3 years ago almost. It's been a while, and I think I've read like the first 3 chapters of this, honestly, probably about 3 years ago, and I just could not get into it for some reason. Magnus's voice is very similar to Percy's, and I think that may be part of it. I just didn't really care. I didn't feel invested in it at all. It was just the same old, same old. I think if you're a kid and you've seen the same old thing with Rick Riordan, you'll probably still like this if you want to read something that's very similar to what he's already written, but honestly, it didn't have anything new for me, so I don't know. I will probably return to this someday because I would like to read it since it's very pretty and it's just chilling on my shelf, but I don't think it'll happen for a while. Another book I had to mention, which I actually unhauled a while back, is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. This is a book about a girl named Adelina who is super dark, and she has magical powers, and she's really dark, and she might like explode her darkness someday and just enact darkness on everybody, and that's the story of this book, and how she teams up with some other dark people who are going to help her get revenge and be more dark. Now, I know that may sound a bit dramatic, but that's honestly like what the narration of this book is like. It's basically Adelina being like, I am so dark. I'm so dark. I can feel the darkness. The darkness is creeping up in me. The darkness is overtaking me. I am darkness. And honestly, you guys have heard me talk about this book before. I don't like it. I've unhauled it. I've talked about popular books I don't like. It's just a book that I just don't think is worth it. I don't think it's very good. It's not enjoyable. Like, I don't see the appeal of this book at all. I happily DNF'd it at page 200 after about 2 years of trying to read it, and you know what? No regrets. I'm so glad I did. I have another book here by Marie Lu that I did DNF, but this one is a little different because I want to give this one a chance, and that is Legend. Legend is kind of like a dystopian thing where there's 2 perspectives, one boy and one girl, and one of them's like an assassin person who's on the side of the government, and the other one's like a rogue thief type person who's like, the government's mad at them or something, and she's like set out to hunt him, but then they fall in love. I don't know. It actually sounds like something would be up my alley, but for some reason I've tried to read it like 3 times and I've just never gone back to it. I don't know why. I kind of want to read it again. I just don't know why I never seem to be able to. So let me know if the series gets better, if it's worth it, because I actually really do want to read this eventually. It's just one of those things that for some reason I've never gotten back to doing. Just for fun, I thought I would mention a few school books that I had to read that I did not finish because they were not good. The first one is Tom Brown's School Days by, I believe, Thomas Hughes. Thomas Hughes? Something like that. Something Hughes wrote this book. This is just about this guy named Tom Brown who goes to school in a British boarding school, and he has various adventures. And this book did like form various British literature in children's literature for years, and there's a lot of different influences from it in like Harry Potter and things like that. Like, it definitely did inform some things. I just don't care because it's a really boring book. It's so dull. It's painful. Tom Brown's narration is so incredibly boring. Well, it's actually technically narrated by this other person who is so incredibly boring. Kind of the days before children's books had to be really entertaining and good, and this is mostly written for the academic elite child, and it's super dull. I don't enjoy this. If you want to read a classic children's book, honestly, from Britain, this is not one I would recommend. The next book I DNF'd, I actually feel pretty bad about it because I wish I'd finished it, but that's Animal Farm by George Orwell. I don't even know why I DNF'd this. I was almost through it, but it was just I didn't have time to finish it before the exam for this class I was in, and then I just kind of gave up and didn't finish it, and that was about it. I wasn't super in love with it. It's kind of one of those books where it's super obvious what the point is, so you kind of know what's going on the whole time. But I just didn't love it, and I couldn't make myself finish it, so I didn't. So that's it for books I've DNF'd. Those are the majority anyway. I may have missed a few. Well, let me know what you guys think of these books, if they're some of your favorites, or if you also aren't a big fan. I would really like to know what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe on your way out if you're new here. I upload videos twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Fridays, and occasional bonus uploads throughout the week as I please. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social medias, the links will all be in the description. But in the meantime, I will see you guys next time.